In this video, I'm going to show you how easy it is to teach basic jazz improvising using just the blues scale over our 12-bar blues chord progression that you learn in lesson 1. Hi, I'm Tim Topham, and in today's video, I'm going to be continuing where we left off in lesson 1, looking at the chords for the 12-bar blues, and talk about today the improvising that I do with students. It's one of the simplest ways to get creative in your piano teaching, and it requires no previous experience, it requires no knowledge of jazz, and it doesn't even require any equipment except for the lesson plan, which you can grab from timtopham.com/blues, and an open mind and a teacher that's ready to have a little bit of fun with their students. I think you're going to absolutely love this, and I'm looking forward to getting started with you today. So, what works best for improvising when it comes to the 12-bar blues with students is using something called the C blues scale. Now, if you're not familiar with this, it's a really easy set of notes that goes C, E flat, F, F sharp, G, B flat, and C. So we've got these notes. And already you get that immediate kind of jazz feel, right? So I tend to help students play this series of notes using a chromatic fingering. If they have played a chromatic scale before, then they'll know the idea of using thumb and three. If they haven't done that before, then you can just explain to them that thumb is going to go on the white note and third finger will go on each black note. So help the student play up and down this nice and slowly, just getting used to how it sounds and how it feels to play. Sometimes with students who might be a little bit more visual, I kind of explain to them that there's a very clear kind of visual pattern to look at, and I say it's almost like the roof of a house. You know, if you're going to draw a house as a kid, you'd draw something like that, right? The outside two notes, C and E flat, B flat and C at the top, kind of have that shape. And in the middle, you've got the F, F sharp, and G, which are like, I don't know, you could call it the chimney at the top or something, I don't know, but three notes stuck in the middle together. So that can be an easy way for them to learn the pattern. So I would get them maybe to play 2 beats on each note. 1, 2, this kind of idea, and back down, just over 1 octave, getting used to it. As I said in lesson 1, the best way to make any kind of blues or jazz playing fun is to use a backing track. So I'm going to show you this with iReal Pro. I'll just pop my earpiece in so I can actually hear the output. So I'm going to press play, and each note for 2 counts. Okay, etc. As the student gets better at that, then you can move to 2 octaves, and you can also move to quarter notes. So we could do this kind of speed. And I tend to use this as a little bit like a scale practice. So just moving up and down in order, just getting the notes into their fingers. As this is still part of that first lesson for most students, it's going to be a very quick introduction to it. And then during the week, they'll be able to practice it. So really what you want to do now is just give them the skills that they need to be able to know how to practice it at home. So let's try it quarter notes. And you can see there, I made a couple of mistakes. Now, when students make these mistakes, make sure you pick up on it and go, wow, what did you do there? That was really, really cool. Of course, what I did there was play a couple of notes at a time. Shock horror, I didn't follow the rules, but that is exactly the next step. So for your student to now progress, they can now go in either direction. They can hang around on a couple of notes. They can repeat a note. They can not start on C. So we'll put the backing track on again and let them explore that shape of scale in any kind of order. So this time I won't start on C. And look, I just love doing this because with not a whole lot of work and some very simple ideas, you've got something that actually sounds really, really cool. The kids totally love this, guaranteed. This is a winning lesson, okay? So make sure you grab your lesson plan from timtopham.com/blues to make sure you can follow these steps in your lesson if you've never done it before. Another great thing to pick up on as your student is playing is when they play something that sounds cool. So I had a little motive or a lick, they'd call it in jazz, that went something like this. Now, students, when they're doing this improvising for the first time, they'll never hear when they play something that sounds good, or most of them won't. So you need to actually sometimes stop them and say, hey, what did you do there? Do that again, do that again. That was really, really cool. And then they'll get the idea that the difference between improvising and creating something that they know will work is the difference between having a couple of patterns in their head or just kind of making stuff up on the spot. So most jazz musos will know that there are certain things with improvising that sounds good, like going... and I'm going to talk about these more in one of our future lessons in this course, what you can do with improvising after the basics are learned. But for students at the moment, I'd just be going, well, if this works, then stick with it. Repeat it over and over and get used to it and remember it as something that you can use. Now, while students are doing this improvising, I'm always playing on another piano, or if you've only got one piano, then just do some simple chords down here out of their way. And I'm going to show you some cooler chords that you can use that will kind of sound a little bit more interesting, right? But the best thing to do for you is to play along with them. So the next kind of step, I think, is towards the end of the lesson to put it together. So put it together in a little ensemble. And by that I mean, put the backing track on. If you've got two pianos, you're playing along, they're playing along, and you just swap jobs, like you would in a jazz band, I guess. So perhaps the student will start with the chords and you'll improvise, then you'll swap jobs, then maybe swap back, and then you're both finished with the chords. Or whatever, it doesn't really matter. Just choose which way you want to go. The iReal Pro chord chart that I've given you is set to repeat 4 times, but you can change that to as many or as few as you would like. Remember that you can also change the pace here. If the student's struggling to keep up, then do a slow blues. Nothing wrong with that at all. Okay, so that's the overview of how to get students started with the blues in 1 to maybe 2 piano lessons, depending on where they're at. For students, again, with small hands or really young students, the whole of the blues scale might be too much. And if the students are struggling to play it, then just restrict it to a couple of the notes. Just maybe these 4 notes. Maybe they could play it with fingers 1, 2, 3, 4. Or maybe they just want to explore these 2 notes and these 2 notes. You'd be amazed what you can do with just a couple of notes of the whole scale. You get the idea, right? So just simplify it as much as you need to for students, depending on their level of ability at the start and also how quickly they're picking things up. What I think is important, though, is to give your students some homework, and I've listed this on the lesson plan. One of the simplest ways that students can continue exploring this at home is to record themselves comping or playing the chords that we did in lesson 1. So they can record this, record it onto their iPhone or their iPad or whatever they've got, maybe into their digital piano if they have one. And then they can press play. If they've done it on their phone, I recommend putting an earpiece in so they can hear it clearly. And then they can improvise over the top of their own playing, which is great. And they can actually do that without this app. If you're going to use the app, then you can use the exported file that I gave you. You can give that to your students and say, here's a backing track that you can play along with in C. It's at about 100, so it's kind of medium pace. Alternatively, if you've got a student that's committed and you think would value it, you can suggest to their parents or to them, if they're an adult student, go and grab this app because it's such a great app to use. The other thing that they could do, of course, is if they've got a friend or family member that plays another instrument, then they could jam along with them. And your student could teach the other student what notes to play of the blues scale. And if it's in a clarinet, they might have to do some transposing, which is a really useful skill as well. So there's heaps of variety of things that you can do with this once you've given them that basic information that we've done in lessons 1 and lesson 2. So this is, as I said right at the beginning, just parts 1 and 2 of a 10-part course that I've got in my InnerCircle community for piano teachers, all about teaching the 12-bar blues. So let me give you a quick overview of what we're going to do in the next few lessons. So lesson 3 is all about left-hand patterns. I'm going to talk about some of these really, really common ways of playing left-hand blues riffs. We're going to talk in lesson 4 about some more improvising ticks to make things sound even cooler. Kids will love that one. In lesson 5, we're going to talk about playing the blues in different keys and how iReal Pro can change keys with basically 2 clicks. In lesson 6, we're going to talk about adding 11ths, 13ths, 7ths, and 9ths to chords. It's not really complex. I'm going to keep it really, really simple so that anyone can do it. I'm just going to show you some winning chord shapes that just absolutely work. You don't have to worry about the fact that they've got 13ths in them. Just remember the shapes. In lesson 7, we're going to talk about syncopating the comping. So instead of being on the beat, we'll start to do kind of things. In lesson 8, I'm going to explore the blues walk up and show you how you can introduce that to the students. And then in lesson 9, we're going to talk about putting the chords in the left hand so that your student can improvise while the backing track's going along or while they're playing with a bass player, drummer, whatever it is that they're playing along to. And lesson 10 is a wrap up and a where to go next for more information about jazz and some tips and tricks on that. So look, I do hope you've enjoyed these first 2 lessons. Make sure you grab the lesson plan at timtopham.com/blues. And if you're interested in lessons 3 through to 10, make sure you grab a make sure you grab an InnerCircle membership. You can grab a monthly or annual membership. And to find out about how to do that, just head to timtopham.com/community. I really look forward to introducing you to the other members in there and all the resources we've got. I mean, this is just one of many courses, tech how-to videos, masterminds we've done, recordings of webinars, you name it. There is a wealth of information in there for piano teachers. If you haven't checked it out, make sure you head to that link, timtopham.com/community. And I look forward to seeing you in another video.
If the idea of a piano teachers community where you get to access the best educational resources, rub shoulders with expert teachers from around the world, and have immediate access to feedback for any of your questions, then InnerCircle membership is for you. The InnerCircle is my private community of piano teachers from across the globe who share a commitment to creating and delivering the most inspiring, modern, and progressive learning experiences for their students. Membership is now open, so head to timtopham.com/community to find out more and get involved today. I can't wait to see you on the inside.